Steve, just to start, let's ask you about a prediction. We've argued long and hard about the pros and cons and 170,000 waiting to be processed and only 500 going to Rwanda. What do you think will happen, my friend?
Well, I would be deeply surprised if today the Supreme Court acts alongside the government's view and allows them to win the appeal. And part of the reason for that is that they have consistently supported international rules of law over those of the internal government. And I think here, where we've got big arguments, including those of Article 39 of the ECHR, that gives rights to the government to challenge the ECHR and overrule them, I can't see how in the political atmosphere that we have. But if they do, it's going to create a really nasty precedent out there for people who believe that courts now, who abide by foreign court judgments, overrule those of an elected government that went on a manifesto that they would deal with this particular immigration problem without the need for the ECHR. I think it's going to be a tough day.
Stephen, in practical terms, though, even if the Supreme Court rules in favour, in Rishi Sunak's favour, it'll still take at least a year for it to actually work. And then if it does work, we're talking about, what, 500 people that it can house? Practically, will the Rwanda scheme even be worth it?
Well, practically, you're correct in the sense that what you have is the Home Office at the moment suggesting that they can't really transfer too many people. And if I go back to the court decision, I also think that what you will find is that if the court decides it goes ahead, it will give more opportunities for the individual claimants to make appeals. So you could see them appealing before they even get onto the plane once again. There'll be opportunity to do that. But for what I understand from the Home Office is they have prepared additional contracts with companies to remove people to Rwanda. We've had the foreign minister of Rwanda state that they can take many, many thousands, and they're prepared to do that. So I think those practical implications can be addressed and reasonably quickly. But I do believe that once again, the court system will delay this. And you're right, it'll take at least a year. And you've seen that in Suella Braverman's letter. It's very clear that she believes that this will just delay it until after the general election, if it goes on at all.
Pete, can I bring you in? Two very simple questions. Let's say it's rejected at 10 o'clock by the Supreme Court. One of the main points of Suella's letter, and a lot of response this morning on the show, is that he didn't have the guts for this. He hasn't got the appetite for this. A, and one, will he push on with it? And B, and two, another main part of the letter is the ECHR. And I know people will say blah, 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 but a lot of people in the United Kingdom are fed up being told by a European court what we should do away from refugees in terms of economic migrants. Will he carry on pushing this scheme if it's rejected? And do you think he's ever got a pair big enough to leave the ECHR, which a lot of his party is saying he needs to do?
If this is lost at 10 o'clock this morning, I think you're going to see Suella Braverman within minutes saying that we should leave the ECHR, that is the right course of action. And that is a massive political test for Rishi Sunak in terms of what he wants to do. That it is an issue which splits his party and indeed splits the country in terms of whether we should be members of the ECHR. It's been around since the 1950s. It's not to do with the EU. It's something different. But it will be a major roadblock, I would imagine, to what happens. He's had some very good news politically today on the inflation figures, down to 4.6%. That is a huge boon for him. That's the big gamble that he made. The economy might turn around, but another political headache in 3 hours' time, I think, is going to come with the Supreme Court decision.